Guys, hold on. Got a lot going on, so we're already messing up. What in the world is going on? Breaking news across college football and LSU. Notre Dame's Brian Kelly, per Pete Thamel, is expected to become LSU's next head coach. This is going all across social media as Pete Thamel is reporting that Brian Kelly is going to be the next head coach. We are gathering as much information as this is just breaking. So I'm putting out as many text and getting as much as I can right now to find out everything that we can. But it does look like Brian Kelly will be the next head coach at LSU. So as the show goes on, we will give you everything that we got. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to break down here. We did go live a little bit early as soon as we got the news that Brian Kelly was going to be the next head coach. I know that this is going to be a very big shockwave across everything. But our good friend Josh Pate, who we've had on the show, is now also reporting Brian Kelly to LSU is nearly done. This would be a monumental hire for Scott Woodward if he's able to pull it off. So we do have a lot going on right now. But Pete Thamel is pretty confident about this and about about this. Look, the initial thoughts. Let's do this. We'll get to all the comments. We'll get to what we're thinking. Let's take a step back. Because we got a lot we got to do before we get into all of it. But before we get started, guys, do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share to some Facebook groups. If you're on Facebook, don't forget to follow us there. Also, if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe and notification bell. We greatly appreciate it. If you're listening to us on the podcast or Twitter, don't forget to subscribe, follow there, and hit that retweet. We would greatly appreciate it. All right, so let's do this very, very, very quickly as we got some bills to pay. Let's pay those bills, and then we'll get to all your comments and talk about Brian Kelly becoming the next head coach of LSU football. None better than our good friends over at GM Varnado & Sons and betonline.ag. Guys, with 64 years of experience, nobody's better equipped to servicing your vehicle than GM Varnado & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. Or go see them over at 2500 Florida Boulevard in Denham Springs, Louisiana. And our good friends over at betonline.ag. Guys, BetOnline put out a thing today about who would be the next head coach at LSU. Brian Kelly wasn't on it. So I'm sure they're excited after all the bets that got placed today. But there's nowhere better equipped in the state of Louisiana to place all your bets than betonline.ag. Use the 50% welcome bonus by using the Believe 50 AYS tab. And that way they know your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by. That's betonline.ag. betonline.ag. All right, let's get it rolling. I got a lot of things flying in here right now. Just trying to scramble and find out as we are live about Brian Kelly. A lot of people right now are saying no way would I have ever thought Scott Woodward was scrambling. So let's talk about this. Let's take the last 24 hours or last 48 hours away from this LSU coaching search. It is fully my belief that Lincoln Riley was the top target for LSU. And then this was probably more than likely Scott's second choice to go after Brian Kelly. Everything that has transpired, Scott Woodward, as we had talked about for the last 3 weeks, ultimately had a backup plan. Now, as we talked about yesterday and we talked about last night, even if you miss out of them, you got to have a solid backup plan. And Brian Kelly was obviously the guy for Scott Woodward. Now, this isn't completely finalized, but it takes a lot, and I mean a lot, for Pete Thamel and others to run out here saying sources Brian Kelly is going to be the next head coach at LSU. So, look, take it for what it's worth. But I'm telling you, Pete Thamel is never really wrong at these kinds of things. He was right. He was the one that broke the Lincoln Riley story yesterday. Obviously, he has an in with CAA or somebody because he's breaking these stories left and right. So you got to give him credit where credit is due there. So I'm going to take a lot of the comments, put inside the chat right now. I got a lot flying in. What are your thoughts about Brian Kelly? If I'm going to miss a lot. I'm going to miss a lot of these comments, but we'll get to as many of them as we can. Kirk Paul, we'll start off with that when he says it's a solid hire. He says that Brian Kelly was 10-2, 10-3, 11-2, and 10-1. Yeah, and a couple of those were against. I mean, look, he's had his tenure at when he was at Notre Dame, playing against LSU, coaching against LSU, and he won both of those games. This is my initial take on Brian Kelly. This is not going to be favorable for some. Some people are going to hate me for saying this, but I want you to relax and just understand that Brian Kelly is a good coach. Brian Kelly is a good coach. What he has done at Notre Dame, in my opinion, he has overachieved at what he's done at Notre Dame. He beat both of those LSU teams with less talent on his sideline. He's been a great evaluator of talent. Came into Louisiana just last year and got a kid out of Archbishop Rummel and Logan Diggs who's making very big waves at Notre Dame. Now what happens when he's surrounded by the talent that he's going to be able to get at LSU? Now, here are some concerns. Some concerns that I have for Brian Kelly is he's 60 years old. Now, I'm not trying to say, use ageism or a lot of these different things, but how long will Brian Kelly be at LSU when he's 60 years old? I mean, it's not like you're going – I mean, it was kind of like one extreme after the other. Going after Lincoln Riley, who's 38 years old, now hiring Brian Kelly, who's 60, who more than likely will be 61 by the next time he coaches, which looks like it's going to be LSU. Very interesting. Another worry for me about Brian Kelly is that he hasn't been a fantastic or really great recruiter. Now, the question is how much and how good of talent can you get at Notre Dame? The one thing that we know he has been able to do is get decent quarterbacks and great O-line play. Defense at times has been a struggle. They have not been able to recruit really well on the defensive line at Notre Dame, but Indiana, where they're at, does not produce the talent base that you would need, or even the surrounding areas with everybody that's surrounding you to get the defensive line. Now, they've had a lot of success getting DBs, some linebackers, and et cetera, but he's been able to reel in a lot of coaches, and it's going to be interesting to see what he's able to do now at LSU. Look, and I see a lot of Walker Howard stuff in here too. I don't think that a lot of people are asking if LSU made this hire based off of Walker Howard, and absolutely no form or fashion did they base this hire off of Walker Howard. There's a lot of decisions that have to be made when you're about to more than likely. And look, we don't have the contract details as it currently sits, but it's more than likely looking like, based off of what Lincoln Riley got, based off of what Mel Tucker got, based off of what all of these guys got, he's going to get well north of $100 million. And I would not be surprised, because Scott Woodward has done this before, if it's not something that's fully guaranteed. I know that sounds nuts. He did it with Jimbo. He's done it with Mulkey. He's done it with others. But good on Scott Woodward for being able to pull this off, if he is able to pull it off. And I know a lot of people are going to be upset with that. Jack Davis says Marcus Freeman, who was once formerly courted by LSU, says stays at Notre Dame with Fickell as the head coach. Maybe so. Maybe so. Eric says you don't know that this could have been his number one man the whole time, and they just did not come to terms yet. I don't believe that. Let's not let what happened the last 48 hours fool us to what was really going on. Why make the announcement now? You've had 6 weeks to do that. The timing doesn't make sense. Marvin Mackey says, I'll take it always, 10-win seasons. I will too. And let's look, he's a game away. Listen to this. He was in the college football playoff last year, was the only team and only coach to keep Alabama into a situation where, and you can call it what it is, they played Alabama closer than anybody last season. He has not been able to get over that hump to the national title. He also has not been able to get the talent at Notre Dame that he'll be able to get at LSU. Now, he's going to have to get relentless recruiters around him. He's going to have to put a very solid staff around him to have severe success at LSU. He will have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, no questions about it. When it comes to recruiting, he will have to put a solid staff around him. We got a lot of people in the chat, about 950 right now. Everybody do us a favor by hitting like and share. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Aaron Adams says, super shocked. Guys, this is going to be a super shock for a lot of people. And look, being a game away from the playoff again, guys, if Cincinnati loses, if there's a situation where Oklahoma State gets beat by Baylor, we know that Alabama, Alabama for all intents and purposes is looking like they're going to lose. I don't see the committee putting a two-loss Alabama team over a one-loss Notre Dame team. Now, especially if Cincinnati does find a way to win, they're on the brink of legitimately being close. They're going to be the number 5 team ranked tomorrow. They've done this multiple years, year in and year out. Went to the ACC last year and played for the conference championship, but beat Clemson last year. Going to be very interesting between all of it. I still think that he's a good coach. Ron Jennings says he's a great coach. We'll see. Jason Morgan sends us a $9.99 super chat on YouTube. Thank you, sir. He says, people hating on Kelly. He's 54-9 and plays a straight Power 5 schedule every year. Will get the recruits and win at LSU. And look, Jason's right there. They do play 9 or 10 Power 5 teams. No other team in the country does that. No other team in the country plays more Power 5 teams than historically Notre Dame, except last year, but obviously that was a COVID year. But look, they're not playing in the SEC. It's going to be interesting to see how he adapts to the SEC. Now, something that Brian Kelly has said before, Brian Kelly has vividly talked about, like on record, saying that he doesn't know if he wants to go through the gauntlet of the SEC. Well, sorry, Big Daddy, you're in it now. You're in it now. Going to be interesting to see how he retracts those statements. Darren says, #Ask Blake. Kelly just got some huge commitments in the 22 recruiting class. Think they will come to the boot now? Maybe, but look, this isn't something groundbreaking, but it completely solidifies guys like Will Campbell, Walker Howard. Maybe you can pull Jake Johnson. Maybe he won't flip, but it's very insane. It's very insane. Look, the smoke had been building every single day, every hour of the day today about Brian Kelly. Look, now I got to give Mike Scarborough from TigerBait.com a lot of credit. He told me, and this is no lie, he told me on this phone, we were sitting up talking one night, and he told me, Blake, I'm telling you right now, keep your eyes on Brian Kelly throughout this entire search. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And he broke the news again today and got the ball started about Brian Kelly being pursued by LSU. I got to give Mike Scarborough credit where credit's due. The thing that he told me back then, and I've asked him if I could share this. I already asked him earlier in the day because we were talking about this. And one thing is that Brian, and it's kind of been around Notre Dame, is that Brian Kelly always felt as if that he can never win a national title at LSU, ever win a national title. At LSU, at Notre Dame, and he might want to go somewhere else where he can get the recruits, have the culture, and have things in place where he could win a national title. Good on Mike Scarborough, man. Good on Mike Scarborough. Got a lot of comments flying in. I'm going to try to get to as many as I can. Shay Allen on Facebook says, #Ask Blake. Blake, isn't it possible that we offered Riley 2 weeks ago and he wouldn't commit? We moved on and started recruiting for Kelly. Maybe, but I still think he was the number one guy. And look, I'm not going to continue to beat on the drum of Lincoln Riley. We got our guy now. We got our guy. And look, here's the market. Robert Hefner V. So talking about Brian Kelly and what he could possibly make at LSU, this is from Brian Kelly V about what Lincoln Riley got at USC. Lincoln Riley's contract details not completely confirmed, but he's getting $110 million. USC's buying both of his homes in Norman for $500,000 over asking price, $1 million bonus. buying a $6 million home in Los Angeles for him and unlimited use of their private jet 24/7. So that's the asking price for someone like Lincoln Riley. Now, I wonder what the hell was the asking price for Brian Kelly. I don't know if it's going to be north of that, but it'd be damn crazy if it's not north, somewhat near or north of that. It's going to be close. It's going to be very, very, very close to that kind of offer. No, I mean, because if Lincoln's getting that, I would expect Kelly to as well. Darren Jackson says, man can't beat Cincinnati and can't win a playoff game to save his life. It's a knock on him, but he still has a really good record. Still has a very, very good record. And I wonder what happens if he gets the talent from Louisiana and LSU, comes to LSU and gets in that playoff. Guys, again, I don't think Notre Dame is a very, very high academic program and institution. Very high religious institution. It's very difficult to get kids to Notre Dame, and you got to go national. Brian Kelly, from a national coach's perspective, has done this more than ever. Now he can get 10, 12, 15 guys from the state of Louisiana, and what does he do when he goes nationally? Because from an offensive line perspective, they've been killing it. They have been getting guys at Notre Dame to come there on the offensive line religiously, and they've been dominating teams up front. Brian Kelly, because of the resources that you have at Notre Dame, has never been able to get a guy like a Kayshon Boutte, like a Jamar Chase, like a Justin Jefferson that's in your backyard. It's an exciting time, and I don't want to take away from that. I do not want to take away from that. Robert says, hashtag ask Blake, do you think he brings Tommy Rees, his offensive coordinator, with him? I know Howard loves him, or the Howards love him. Maybe. Look, man. Look what Lincoln Riley did today, bringing Alex Grinch. But look, we got a lot of comments in here about not liking the hire. But we got a lot of comments in here of people that love the hire. Chad says, huge hire, maybe not a fan favorite, but a great coach. Brandon Reese says, as long as he can recruit Louisiana, he should do good here. I agree with that. I just got a text from a very, very good source. And he said this is going to cost Alabama a fortune. What he's meaning there is, if you don't know, Nick Saban, per his contract, has to be the highest paid coach in college football. So now Nick Saban and Jimmy Sexton are loving all of this. They're loving all of this. Bebop says, y'all are pumping sunshine. LSU went out their way to stay away from Lane Kiffin. This is a mistake. Look, I do have to be honest here. I was more leaning towards Lane Kiffin over Brian Kelly, but I still think Brian Kelly's a damn good coach. He is more accomplished at what he's done in his past and does have a better resume than Lane Kiffin. It's not even close. Just putting out some feelers, going to read some things to you. I'm just going to read this from a source. The source tells me that this probably started around October 25th. I believe that. I'll let the rest of that part go upon its I'm going to let some of that linger out. That way some of these people can tell you themselves exactly how that went down. And look, got to give Scott Wilbur credit, man. You got to give Scott credit. He never stopped. And he got the guy that he wanted, and let's see how it goes. Daniel Glenn says, anyone wonder what a bidding war with the papacy would look like? Heavy cheddar. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of heavy cheddar. Andreas says, I wanted the Lane train. Well, Brian Kelly now. I do see a lot of people coming here finding about culture. I'll get to that. Dwayne D says, I'll take Brian Kelly over the vast majority of those left out there. I agree with that. Briley on YouTube brings up an interesting point here talking about culture. I've said this and I stick to this. Okay. Like I fully stick to this. Okay. This is just my opinion. And a lot of people say that Brian Kelly will not be a good fit at LSU. Like legitimately will not be a good fit at LSU or Louisiana. You know what's a good fit at Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, Florida, you name it. You know what's a good fit? Winning. Winning is. Now, Brian Kelly is a hard ass. I'm going to tell you a lot of things that you're going to see about Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly can be a complete jackass. Calling it like I see it. And he knows that he can be a jackass, even to the tone of the officials at Notre Dame telling him that he has to calm down of the rhetoric that he was doing on the sidelines. But the man has passion. The man is a smart coach. A very smart coach. But the only culture that will fit here is winning. Oh, he does. Look, you know who else didn't fit the culture? A Jewish gentleman from Miami who's originally from Michigan coming to Louisiana to take over the LSU baseball program. You know who else wasn't a fit? Nick Saban. They were fits when they started kicking everybody's ass, weren't they? When they started laying the smack it down on that candy ass, they were a good fit. Maury says he's 60. He is 60. But look, what if he puts a good staff around him? What if he puts a good staff? Look, better than Jimbo Fisher, more accomplished than, well, I wouldn't say accomplished. Better coach right now than Jimbo Fisher. Better coach than Sam Pittman. Can he go toe-to-toe with Lane Kiffin, Nick Saban? We're about to find out. But look, if he can come in here and start building some stuff and building a dynasty, then what? What happens when he gets things around him? Donnie Wright says Nick Saban is a hard ass too. Yeah, he is. Dwayne D says, you said it, brother. Winning is a culture. Winning is a culture. Again, when we sit back and we think about all of this, the Skip Bartman, Nick Saban, whoever you want to bring in here, whoever you want to talk about, hell, Will Wade had hardly ever been in the state of Louisiana outside of recruiting. Said he never ate a crawfish a day in his life. He's 7-0. Skip won natties. Nick won natties. Now what? When it comes to culture is the last thing that I'm worried about when it comes to winning. Winning trumps culture 10 times out of 10. Winning cures all. You know, that everybody wanted to lecture me on, in my shows and in the comments that, well, if Ed Orgeron would have won, the off the field stuff would have never mattered. What about Brian Kelly? The culture doesn't mean anything if he's out there winning. Here's the thing, though. He's going to have to hit that recruiting trail harder than anything. God forbid he bring Marcus Freeman. God forbid he bring Tommy Rees. And let me look this up. The man that he needs to bring, let me look this up. Jeff Quinn. The number one man he probably needs to bring is Jeff Quinn, the offensive line coach at Notre Dame. Have you seen the behemoths? Oh, well, Blake, he had a bad year. Look at the recruits he's getting, and he's going national. Bring Jeff Quinn. Bring Tommy Rees, whoever is on your staff. Put some Louisiana pieces around you. Let's not get this twisted, though. You're going to have to keep some Louisiana pieces around you. And I would fully expect for LSU and Brian Kelly to keep some of these guys on staff. Who it's going to be at the current moment, I don't know. I do not know. Is it going to be Corey Raymond? Look, there's been sourcing for years. Guys, for the last 3 or 4 years, Notre Dame and Brian Kelly had always entertained and thought of Corey Raymond to be a very good coach. Just could never pluck him away. Always threw their name in that hat. but he's going to keep some Louisiana ties around his program for recruiting base alone. Now, does he keep somebody like Blake Baker, Kevin Falk? That part I don't know. I still think that there may be 2 slots. Does he keep a Brad Davis? Brad Davis has done some good things here so far. I don't know that. Lonnie says, hashtag ask Blake, do you think Marcus Freeman comes in a package deal? It's really too hard for me to tell right now. Like, guys, literally when this news broke and everybody started getting the text and tweets and everything like that, there's not a lot because we're on the show right now. And I got to be candid and tell you when I don't know, I just don't know. So I'm going to be open and honest. Let's see here. This is shocking a lot of people. Brian says, will be a success if he brings Freeman with him. Jimbo Hudat says none wants to touch Kiffin. No. And look, here's another thing. Nobody has touched Lane Kiffin right now. And look, I know he's got the pass at USC. Doesn't look like Oklahoma's touching him. Miami hasn't opened up. Florida didn't even entertain the idea of Lane Kiffin. I'm speculating here and forming an opinion. What has Nick Saban told the athletic directors around the program about Lane Kiffin, or what is there out there about Lane Kiffin that nobody is willing to touch him at the current moment? Something to think about, man. Look, there's a lot of things that go on behind these coaching searches. A lot. You dig deep into these coaching searches. Why is none of them touching him? Is it the childish behavior that he was trolling LSU and Louisiana and Texas. He was trolling everybody on Twitter yesterday. That shit's not going to fly well when you're looking to spend and give somebody $100 million. If you're going to spend $100 million and even more than that in LSU's case, because you're spending a buyout and paying money for a buyout to Ed Orgeron, if LSU is paying north of $100 million, let's just say it is $110 million that they're going to pay Brian Kelly. The truth is, it's going to be north of that. It might be 120, 125 for all the buyouts that they're about to do. Don't ever tell me again. Don't you ever tell me again that LSU doesn't have the money to spend. Don't tell it to me. Corey Oliver says, I am no LSU fan, but you realize that Brian Kelly is a great in the regular season, but is terrible in the BCS and college football playoff. Can LSU type of talent get him over it? We'll see. Quentin Lewis says, Lane to Notre Dame? Absolutely not. You want to talk about probably the only place that you have to have a good culture fit? Could y'all see Lane Kiffin at a religious or a Catholic school? Come on, man. That's setting up for disaster. Setting up for disaster. They'd probably go after someone like Luke Fickell. LSU Patriot on YouTube. What's up, LSU Patriot? Says, until Kelly is standing at the podium, I have doubts. Okay. You're right. That is your right. Steve Randizzo says, has this been confirmed? When Pete Thamel runs out here and says, now he just tweeted, guys, he's coming out here again. And look, there's more reports coming out now. Bruce Feldman is reporting now one of the bigger head-scratching aspects of Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame for LSU is that Notre Dame still has a shot for the college football playoff. Guys, they're confirming this. Pete Thamel and Bruce Feldman are not running out there saying that Brian Kelly is going to be the next head coach of LSU if they're not getting this confirmed. Just telling you. Pete Thamel did just tweet that LSU is expecting to hire Brian Kelly away from Notre Dame. Sources again confirmed to Yahoo Sports. So there you go. I mean, literally just tweeted it 44 seconds ago. Danny Tanner on Facebook. Or on Twitter, excuse me, tells me to go F myself. How dare you try to hire Brian Kelly? Okay. Yeah, sure, bud. And Louisiana Football Report on Twitter also says Coach Brian Kelly has 263 career wins, most notable at Notre Dame and Cincinnati. He is also the National Coach of the Year multiple times in that tenure. That is correct. That is correct. Let's see. Jason Alston tells me, I guess it's to me to shut the F up. Okay. Lewis Coker says, I said O was wrong. I say Kelly is wrong. Should have been Kiffin. Kelly gone in 3 years. Look, let me tell y'all right now, Brian Kelly is not going to be fired in 3 years. I can promise you that. It's going to have to take a lot. The only way that they fire Brian Kelly in 3 years from LSU is because of cause. It is the only reason why Brian Kelly would ever be fired from LSU is with cause. They're not paying that money. Kevin says, do you think that boosters are happy with this hire? If text or anything, because we're on the show, that's why I keep turning the phone off. If text and phone calls or anything, they're okay with it. They're okay with it. Listen, and I was going to come out here and start the show and say this. Let me put this to bed. Let me put this to bed. And I know a lot of people are going to get mad at this, but I want you to hear me out. I want you to hear me out. When you go and you pay a coach over $100 million, when you go into the stratosphere of that, Scott Woodward does not have the ability to do that by himself. He has to get the President William Tate involved. He has to get other state officials involved. He has to get the Board of Supervisors involved. He has to get the boosters involved. Don't tell me he doesn't have leaks. Okay? That's number one. You can believe what you want to believe around that. But when you're about to spend north of that or that kind of money, you have to get approval. That's number one. Number two, this is not like the LSU baseball hire. Get that out of your mind. Get it out of your mind. It doesn't take really anything to get something, to be quiet about something when you have to pay $1 million to Paul Maneri and you still have him around the building and on staff, and to go pay Jay Johnson. $1 million. This is the equivalent, since I got a water bottle right here. $1 million, $100 million. It's like a cat to a water bottle. And look, everybody's saying that they think that O was wrong. It was O wrong for winning a national title. I mean, I still think that he was the right hire at the time. Casey Norton says, do you think that Brian Kelly wants to come here because of all the Catholics? Come on, Casey. Brandy Blake says, if you're waiting to hear it from Scott, then get out of the Rudy Crew chat and let us do our thing, please. You're going to hear it. Ty Legger says, hashtag Ask Blake, missed the start of the show. What are your thoughts on Kelly? Ty, I'm just going to ask you, if you don't mind, just going back to the beginning of the show. But I still think it's a really good hire. I think it's a solid hire. I know a lot of fans aren't going to be happy with it, but I still think it's extremely solid. Extremely, extremely solid. Jason said, solid coaching hires in all sports, coaches that can coach kids up. And look, he's developed kids really, really well. He's developed coaches really, really well. Look at this. Look at Mike Miller. Hey, Mike Miller, guess what? Banned, brother. Banned. Kyle says, seriously, if Miles can go to 2 championships, Kelly damn sure can. The program, quote unquote program, is bigger than the coach. Just take someone with the culture, charisma, and the brains to get it done. I agree. Brandon Reese says, the reality is that Kelly wants to win a title. Deep down, he knows it probably won't happen at Notre Dame, and he can win it at least 1 or 2 at LSU. I agree with that. I completely agree with that. Paul Forrest says this is a great hire. The man is a proven coach. Stefan says, chill, bro. Oh, I guess you're talking about Mike Miller. Yeah, Mike Miller can screw off. Mike Miller's never been in the chat, and it's also a fake account, so we're not going to get mad at fake accounts. Bob Jones on YouTube says, I love this hire. It is a home run. Brian asks, when will this be announced? Well, per Pete Thamel, it's going to be announced within the tomorrow. Tomorrow it's going to be announced. So he says as early as tomorrow. There you go. There you go. This is quick, man. This is very quick. Brinks driver says, at Blake, look for recruits to start committing. Quincy Wiggins, the very talented 4-star defensive end from Madison Prep, said earlier today that things are about to get very interesting. I wonder if he had any a thought or knew about this hire. Yeah, somebody else is saying that they really like the hire too. So seems like a lot of, and look, people that are spending money, they're not going to run out here and say that they hate the hire. Not now. Not now. Josh Howard Sr. says Bleacher Report just broke some news. I'm assuming it's the same about Brian Kelly. I'm assuming it's about Brian Kelly. I wonder how, what's crazy is I wonder how the Notre Dame people are feeling. I wonder how people at Notre Dame are feeling. Yeah, a lot of people are just shocked right now. Like going around, I think it's crazy because everybody's just shocked. I mean, are you not shocked? When we went live and put it on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and you read breaking, Brian Kelly is going to be the next LSU head coach. Were you not surprised? Because, look, I'll be a little honest with you. So was I. I got to be honest. I was a little shocked. I didn't see it coming that quickly. Thought it could be within a day or two, but didn't see it happening within the day. Just fully candid. Todd says, #Ask Blake, Dan Mullen as offensive coordinator. I don't know how those two guys would mesh, man. Brian Kelly is very intense. Dan Mullen just kind of rubs people the wrong way. We'll see. Bayou Chubb says, great hire. If true, need to hear from Scott. Come on, guys. Come on. Dennis says, we're going to have the best offensive line in the SEC for years to come. You got to give Brian Kelly credit there. Can he go outside nationally and start recruiting big-time offensive linemen? You're going to get the defensive lineman for your state. The problem that LSU and Louisiana has always had outside of this year is going and getting big-time offensive linemen. It's always been the issue. Ted says on YouTube, very disappointed with the big game hunter. Holden Lee says Mike Scarborough said if LSU would hire Kelly. Look, again, I said this earlier. I got to give Mike Scarborough credit. About 6 weeks ago, whenever Coach Orgeron was fired, Mike said that he had been hearing some things, some rumblings, and that Brian Kelly was on the top of Scott Woodward's list, 1, 2, as low as obviously 3. But he thought that Brian Kelly was in 1 and 2 and in contention for. I should have asked him to come on tonight, but I didn't because it was just so quickly. But I got to give Scarborough a lot of credit there from TigerBait.com. Maximum Phillips says, does Brian Kelly call plays? No, he does not. Not anymore. He has a very strong input into the game and what's going on. I'm not trying to compare him here. He's more than an Ed Orgeron CEO type. He is a big game planner. He's been on both sides of the ball. but he does let his coaches coach. But he's more of a Saban-esque type of guy. That's the mold that he fits in. That is 100% the mold that he fits in. With that being said, I don't think that he'd call plays. He's going to bring in some offensive coordinators. And look, what happens now? Does Scott Woodward now start breaking the bank to get the look? And I hate this for Orgeron in a sense, but even though he fired Bo Pelini and gave him the money for offense or defensive coordinator and Bo Pelini and did other things, does Scott Woodward now break the bank for Brian Kelly to go get to whoever in the hell he wants? You best believe that Brian Kelly is going to have full autonomy over his coaching staff, his roster, analyst. Here's another thing. What the hell's about to happen in compliance? What's about to happen in the recruiting? This is the type of stuff that goes on with Brian Kelly that he wipes all of that shit out. Weed policy, we'll see you. Leaks in recruiting, we'll see you. He's done it at every stop that he's been at. In all the research that I did, when Brian Kelly comes into a staff or when Brian Kelly comes into a coaching opportunity, he cleans house. Not necessarily on the coaching staff, but everything surrounding the building. Does he do it here? I have no idea. But if history serves us, there's a good chance he does that. And look, Scott Woodward's got to get on this weed policy deal. He's got some things in compliance he's got to get done. But one thing, you're going to have a very well-organized coach. That's for damn sure. You better hope he doesn't get lazy after he gets the big, fat contract. Brian Kelly. Kenny Russell says, Brian Kelly has consistently shown he can recruit and develop offensive line better than any coach besides Saban, and that's very impressive. And that's what the NFL is telling you. I think that they have more offensive linemen that have been drafted over the last, I think, 6 years outside, I think it is Alabama. More offensive linemen than anybody. Eric Weinberger says, Lane. What am I missing? What am I missing? I hope, man, how crazy would it be if all of this stuff goes down? Like all of this stuff goes down. Bill King. Yeah, Bill King said today, and he just put it out on Twitter. Bill King, if you don't know the Bill King show, I go on his show every day or every Wednesday, and he's got a lot of Notre Dame ties. We went back and forth, and he was talking about me telling him this morning at 8. It's like, hey, bro, is this Brian Kelly stuff real? Like, we had that conversation. Eric Weinberger says Lane to Notre Dame. Oh, okay. I got it from down here. Urban Meyer, man, that'd be interesting. And look, Urban Meyer has been on the record at almost at every stop that he's been at and said that when he was growing up as a kid that Notre Dame was his favorite. It was his favorite place. David Kerr says SEC Network just reported newsflash Kelly to LSU. For everybody saying that. Okay, so ESPN just dropped it. Okay. There you go. Kind of vindicating all of it. Cold Case says, Bob, y'all simping hard tonight. This is a complete joke. I don't think it's a joke, man. Ryan Williams says, them corn-fed big offensive linemen will love the gumbo. Bring them on down, Coach Kelly. High Point Media on YouTube says, people are going to criticize it and be mad. But in the end, this will pay off for LSU big time. I agree with that. What are you prepared to do as an LSU fan if you got 6 wins, 7 wins with a bowl win, and he turns his team around, gets him to 9 or 10 wins next year? What are you prepared to do? This team is not ready for a national title. Not in a year they're not. But with the portal and the transfer portal, the +7, what if Brian Kelly comes in here and revamps this, not just even the culture and the bad culture that Orgeron left, but what are you prepared to do when he revamps this roster and starts winning football games? Brian Kelly has never been a loser anywhere. With all due respect to Coach Orgeron, he has. Brian Kelly's not a loser. And when I mean loser, you know what I mean. I'm talking about wins and losses on the field. Jeff 2, our favorite Alabama fan, says Brian Kelly is a great coach, but I just see this as a bad culture fit. Also, he'll never have an easier path to the playoffs in Notre Dame. Well, the playoff path just got harder for him now with all the, soon with the, 12-team playoff. Everybody talks about Louisiana, and I've lived here my entire life. The only thing that, what fixes culture? Again, winning. Winning is the only thing that matters about culture. The only thing that matters. Ann Norwood says $100 million. That's just 3 years worth of alcohol sales in Tiger Stadium during the football season. It's true. It's true. She ain't lying, y'all. She ain't lying. James Peck says thoughts on current staff staying. If any, Corey Raymond. I would think that maybe Corey Raymond would stay. I think that they're going to keep a Louisiana coach in here, maybe even a Brad Davis. Again, I'd be very interested to see how all this plays out and who he brings in and who he doesn't. This is exactly when I need a co-host or a mediator. But yeah, it's over. It's over. Winner, culture changer, recruiter, damn strong hire, says our good friend Stan Polkey. I agree with that. Bayou Chubbs says this hire, and Bayou Chubbs, you was the one asking earlier. This hire is the best choice possible, better than Kiffin, Lincoln, and anyone else. This is your coach. Big game hunted, game, set, and match. Well, the game is set. It's not match yet. You got to go out in the field and he's got to win. Tom Keaton's mad. Thank you, Tom. Palmaris 77 says one thing is for certain: lineman will never be an issue in BR again. At least not O lineman. Bailey Jones says, where did they confirm it? It looks like ESPN. Looks like ESPN. All right, let's do this very quickly. Stay with us. Got to talk about our good friends, our new sponsors over at Lightbox Jewelry. Guys, lightboxjewelry.com. Completely changing the game on how you do jewelry. Guys, it's the Christmas season. Don't be going and buying dull gifts. Using cutting-edge technology and an innovative technique, they're cracked in the science of the sparkle, creating the highest quality lab-grown diamonds you can find and at the lowest light price of $800 per carat. Visit lightboxjewelry.com and add sparkle to your holiday shopping. That's lightboxjewelry.com. Lightbox diamonds, never a dull moment. And our good friends over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com, 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by. All right. Let's get to some more of your comments. Oh, and people were criticizing me today about not being a fan friend or fan friendly. Guys, you do realize we bring more comments into our chat than anybody. I give you the platform you speak. Jeffrey says he'll be my wing nut. Anthony sends us $2 via Super Chat. Thank you, sir. He says he'll have us rolling in 1 year, in my opinion. He could. Look, this +7 transfer portal thing could be huge. It could be massive. It could be truly massive. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share to some Facebook groups. We would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Peter Smith, what's up, Peter? He says, no matter if you don't like the hire, stand behind him and support LSU. And so people are putting in the comments where ESPN is confirming the report from earlier. Also, Denley Nelson also said WFB, and I did see WBRZ also confirmed as well. Oh, Richie Roche, our good sponsor here at AYS. From Roche's Lawn and Landscape, 225-937-7220, 225-937-7220. Richie, you got to come do my back door kitchen area because you're the best. Literally changing people's lives in outdoor patio space. But he says, I think people are upset or just shocked with the hire. They're more shocked than anything. If they would have had some time to process it, maybe it would have not been a big of a blow. But guys, it's been all day. We posted about it on Twitter and Facebook. We tried to talk about it. I said I didn't know how much sense it made for him to leave Notre Dame, but at the end of the day, he did. At the end of the day, he did. I wonder what he's telling his players. Shane says, excellent choice. Billy says, next season can't get here quick enough. I agree with that. Look, and he's going to be there for the bowl game. What y'all think? He ain't going to be there for the bowl game? Come on now. Now you got to go get. Now you have to go get some guys that decommitted, like Trevante Citizen. You got to pull in Quincy Wiggins. You got to keep the offensive lineman. Maybe add a couple in the portal. Maybe a running back or two, just in case. If Emory leaves and Ty Davis Price is probably going to the NFL. If John Emory leaves, not saying he is. Need to go get some more DBs. I mean, look, and can he maybe in back Elias Ricks? I don't know that. But I don't think Elias Ricks is coming back. He just can't see it. John says he will keep Raymond for recruiting and Mickey Joseph. If you guys, I see a lot of people talking about Mickey Joseph. Mickey's also being pursued for a very high Big Ten job. Now, Mickey Joseph was also courted by Notre Dame just last season. Like they were looking at him to be their wide receivers coach and assistant head coach. I wonder if he keeps Mickey because I know that there was an interview done. We reported it and got it confirmed from the source, the source. So yeah. So I wonder if he keeps him on. I don't know that yet. We're going to have to wait and see. Let's see. Brandon Felden says, give him the recruits LSU gets with his record, and that's a marriage made in heaven. I agree. Jackson Carter says, Brian Kelly just informed his staff per Ross Dellinger. There you go. There you go. And here's a report. Ross Dellinger says LSU is hiring Notre Dame's Brian Kelly as his next head coach per sources. He also says, more confirming point in, Brian Kelly has informed Notre Dame that he is leaving for LSU, sources tell Sports Illustrated. I got to be honest. I'm a little guys, I'm just excited. Like I'm sure a lot of you won't be excited, but I'm excited. I'm just excited. We got a new coach. We got a coach that has a culture of winning. Look, he said some crazy shit before and done some crazy shit, but be all right. Tyler Mann says +7 transfer portal thing, question mark. Come on, Tyler. They passed, the NCAA passed a ruling in recruiting that if you have so many kids that transfer out of your school, so meaning like Elias Ricks transfers out, who else Miles Brand transfers out, you can go and get a commitment or 2 extra commitments above the 25 scholarship limit. So say you max out the 25 scholarship limit and 4 guys transferred, you can get 29, or 5 guys transferred, you could get 30 recruits, sign 30 guys to your recruiting class. The max that you can do that, though, however, is 7. So that's a +7 if you guys didn't know. And you go if you have 7 guys that transfer and then you have a full class of 25 that commit, Plus, you're able to go in the portal or anywhere. This isn't just a portal, but you can go get 7 more guys, 32 recruitment. Guys, do you understand what could happen if Brian Kelly comes in here and starts offering kids that have no – let's go look at Notre Dame's hold on. Notre Dame recruiting 2022. Let's just say he finishes with a 25 and he's got Jalen Sneed, the linebacker, 5-star linebacker out of South Carolina. C.J. Williams, 4-star wide receiver. Josh Burnham, 4-star linebacker. Let's look at these some offensive linemen. Emil Wagner from Ohio. Can he bring him in here? 4-star guy. And then you sign. Could you imagine? And Emil Wagner is a top 10 offensive lineman in this class. Then you get Will Campbell, you get the borderline kid, and then you get this kid. Shit. Guys, they're number 4 in recruiting. They got 23 solid commits. And look, he's been recruiting well, and he's been recruiting well without having the base. I don't see any of these kids. One kid's from Indiana. So one kid of 23 commitments, only one of those kids is from inside the state that Notre Dame resides in. So Brian Kelly has legitimately had to go, has had to go nationally to recruit every kid he's gotten. Guys, he doesn't have to do that anymore. And if you want to call a spade, the whole Cincinnati thing, why do you think Cincinnati is where they are right now? That shit started from Brian Kelly. Had good coaches that kept it up, got a guy like Luke Fickell that kept up that culture, and they're more than likely getting into the playoff. That started from Brian Kelly. You can call me a sunshine pumper son of a bitch. I really don't care. But what I know is facts. And facts is that he's been a winner everywhere he's gone. Hard ass, yes. Can be a jackass, sure. But kids have shown that they respond to that when they're around him, because he gets good coaches around him. All right, we've been going for a while. Been a huge show. Huge show. We'll go a little bit longer. Roderick says, Coach O won a championship here. I know Kelly going to get us one. Shit, he might get you a couple. Shit. He might get you a couple. I mean, I'm sure the selling point to him, the real big selling point to him is being able to probably win one and solidify his career. Look, this is for everything. Coaches are complete narcissists. No matter how much money they get, and money does bring in a factor to this, they want to win, and they care more about their legacy than anything else. Good on Scott Woodward, man. Good on Scott Woodward. Marcus Spears, he says, I can't hold it in any longer, y'all. Like the Marcus Spears. Says, I can't hold it in any longer, y'all. I like this Brian Kelly hire. Duke can coach, and I want LSU to win, LSU football to win consistently. Let's freaking go. Let's freaking go. There it is. Love you, Big Swagoo. Swagoo is like one of my first ever guests on this show. But that was like 3 or 4 years ago. PCG on YouTube says, I'm not convinced. Still depressing hire. Brandon says, the fact that Kelly is willing to come to the SEC at this stage of his career tells me something. It's true. It's true. Means he wants to win a natty. And look, either he wants to win a natty or he wants to get that money and ride off into the sunset. But I don't believe the latter. Guys, I just don't believe the latter. David Kerr says, sends us $5 via Super Chat. Thank you, David. Says, for the record, AYS was the first of all the LSU podcasts to report any of this. How is that? Props. Thanks. Got to give Mike Scarborough credit, though. Got to give Mike Scarborough credit. What is Jim saying? I don't know what even Jim's saying, but I love a lot of these Sorry, Jim. Blocked. Yep, Jim Gates is blocked. Last son of Odin, like Thor. Says Kelly about to lock this state down. I hope so. Jeffrey says Arch is going to go to Ole Piss, not with Lane Kiffin there. Not with Lane Kiffin there. I bet he doesn't. Holden Lee says Kelly's a better coach than Miles and Orgeron, so imagine what he can do with him. Guys, I mean, that's the god dang truth. That's the damn truth. You ain't had a coach like this in here since freaking Nick Saban. Facts. Mega facts. Zachariah Cameron says, did Lane want the job? Lane was never asked. And that's why Lane was trolling LSU and everybody yesterday. He was never asked. Scott was never going to go after Lane Kiffin. Sorry, guys. Something, Zachariah, and I know you've been in a lot of shows here, and we've talked about this religiously. I know that even I said at this point you might want to give a look to Lane Kiffin, but he was never looking. He was never looking. Well, this is very interesting. Jacoby Matthews, the 5-star safety right here from Ponchatoula, tweeted about the head coaching search and Brian Kelly being the next head coach of LSU. He goes, kaboom. Guys, that tells you something. Recruits are responding to this right now. They're responding. Jacoby Matthews, boom. All right. Pretty ready for that I'm ready for that press conference, though. It's going to be fun. All right, we've been going for over an hour now. We'll call it a night. We'll be back tomorrow. And we got a lot more about head coaching. We're going to find out more about this tomorrow, about coordinators and everything like that. So stay tuned. We'll be the first one there to talk about it live on location in the AYS studios at 7 p.m. Central Time every Monday through Thursday and every Saturday morning or evening of the postgame show. Till then, guys, we'll see y'all soon. Y'all have a good night. Peace out, Girl Scouts.